First period was terrible. Okay. I thought that, after going through the game one, that we would be sharp and really on it in the first. And it's not like a lack of care or a lack of try. It was, I thought we were tight. We played tight. No one wanted the puck. No one wanted to skate with the puck. And we saw parts of that in game one. So to me, that was the worst period we've played in the series so far, except for one guy, Gorgie. I thought he was great in the first period. It could have been a lot worse. But feeling tight, that was a message that we had to sort of build our swagger back shift by shift. And we have to get more assertive and more engaged competitively. I think they've held the competitive advantage for the first 4 periods of the series. I've kind of felt like we had another level that we needed to get to that they were already at. And then in the second period, you could see we started to free ourselves up a little bit. Now you got guys wanting the puck and heading to areas to get the puck and fighting through checks and more assertive, more engaged. And then then we really started to see what our team can do once we scored the first goal. So, and then we played, and it was still a hard fought next 40 minutes, but I liked some of the stuff that we were doing in the final 40.
Peter.
Ron Taves had maybe a tough start to the series, a couple uncharacteristic turnovers. Just what does it say about his composure and ability to kind of push through that and end up making a few big plays down the stretch, including a goal?
Yeah, it was huge. And I think you could say that for every player on our team. Again, it's not the intention of our guys to go out and want it to be easy, but it was like we were shocked and we weren't in the right place mentally until the second period. And he's another guy. It just, goes from, it's a fine line from one guy working at a time to 5 guys working together. And then, some of the skill and some of the plays that we made, and we got more physical. We worked, harder as a group together. And it led to some success, but a couple huge plays from them tonight. I thought for the bulk of our team played really well tonight, after that first period.
Bennett, then Evan.
You mentioned Georgiev. Did you sense any sort of extra spark at the end of both of those first 2 periods after the saves he made? One on the breakaway at the end of the first, and then 3-on-1 in the second. Huge saves, timely saves. We were pushing hard in the second, especially that 3-on-1 save. What was 4-on-4 at the time, and we turned it over into a bad area, and they went down that save. And you could see that, kind of feel the crowd get behind him and the chants, and I'm sure that helped spark it. But he was exceptional the whole night. Like I said, it could have been a lot worse after the first if it wasn't for him. And, we made some desperation plays and after giving up some scoring chances to kind of help keep it there. But, even after, when you're playing from behind and you're on a push, they're still going to have something to say about it. And they did. And we needed some big saves at key times. And then their goalie made some too. Even in the third period, I thought we had some really good opportunities and Grubauer played well.
Evan, then Megan.
It's the playoffs, so everything kind of gets ramped up physically. But when a guy like Rodriguez goes out there and throws some big hits, does that kind of give the team a little bit extra juice?
No question. I think everyone kind of feeds off it, right? And our bench got super engaged, with the support for one another once we started playing. We were grasping at any little positive thing on the bench as a group that could help get us going and supporting one another. But I noticed Erod right out of the gate, his first 2 shifts, he gets 2 big hits and generally more of a, not that physical of a player, but in his checking game, but he was on it tonight and he didn't stop the whole night. He was one guy that was helping drive the bus early on in the game.
Megan.
Last year in the playoffs, the concept of breaking the game down into increments, winning the next 5 minutes, really helped them. I was curious when the issue is cohesion, like it has been at the start of this game in game 1, if you take a bigger picture approach or if you're still resurfacing this concept of 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, still resurfacing. Okay, so I didn't talk about it in the first period or in the first game. We go to that over time. multiple times during the course of the season. I think it can help. Like you don't want to look at the big picture. Like you're not going to win the game. You go down in the first period. You're not winning the game in one shift. Okay, we have to build our game back. And so for me, that was part of the message after period one. Like if we want to get our swagger back, we got to start doing the right things. And part of that was like, we needed to get a little more physical and get engaged. And, we knew we hadn't played our best hockey at all or anywhere even close at the first 40 minutes. And part of that is with some of the things they're doing, and a lot of it is on us. So breaking the game down and kind of just trying to string a couple shifts together, and if it goes off track, then start fresh again. And that's what we talked about. And guys did a good job of it. We talked about it on the bench during the second period and actually as the game went on as well.
Brandon, then Kyle.
Jared, on your right.
Yep.
Kale said the players were putting pressure on themselves to be good for their teammates. So how, I guess, I don't say deflating, but how much did those 2 goals, as quickly as they came in the second, help, I guess, alleviate some of that pressure?
Well, I think it did big time. You could see our team like take a breath and then start to play with a little confidence again. Confidence is it's a strange thing. The ebbs and flows to a series or just even your game. Like it's not as magnified in the regular season. Like when you go and you're having a tough game, you're hoping that the rest of your teammates are playing well so you can still win. But I say it all the time. Like no one's putting more pressure on these guys than they are on themselves and that their teammates are, right? Like regardless of where you think you should finish or where you are at the point in the season, they want to win, and they put a lot of hard work into winning. So when they're not playing well, it gets frustrating. So that's the mental grind of the playoffs, right? It's not, again, you can't win a game in one shift. Sometimes you can lose one, but you're not going to win it one shift. So I think for us especially, it was just trying to get back to what makes us successful. And again, I think the support helps on the bench, guys noticing and identifying, and then sharing a little praise for guys that are like doing a little extra. And another guy that stood out to me, that entered the game physically, he did in game one as well, but Lehkonen, he was on the body and extra effort, and those second and third efforts on pucks to keep plays alive, like they get noticed on the bench, and then you start feeling a little bit good about yourself with some praise from your teammates, and you can turn things around.
Kyle.
Jared, just a quick 2-part health question here. Darren Helm returns to the lineup tonight. Just your impressions of him, and what's the level of optimism that Jack Johnson or Kyle Yano could come back for game 3?
Don't know on the last part, and I thought Helm was really good. Yeah, good jump in his game, physical, responsible, all the things that we know him for. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat for me tonight in a tough game.
Jesse, then Eric.
It's, there was such a big difference between the first 4 periods of this series and then the last 2. Is there anything that you had to say in the locker room, or is that something that you kind of leave to the guys to get that worked out?
Well, I just kind of told you what I said, but I'm sure they were saying the same things. Again, I'm not in there in the intermission, but we got great leadership in there. I trust those guys. Landy's been in the room as he's been watching, and, I think it helps to have guys that are, like with Landy, that he's not so emotionally invested in it, and they trust him. He's their captain, and he carries a big voice, so I know he's been in and out of there, because sometimes you need a voice that's not as in engaged in it emotionally. He can take the emotion out of it and deliver a message, and guys can get it. So I think it's a collaborative effort. It's not just me or just the coaching staff that goes in to try and turn things around and lead it in our group. We've been doing it like family atmosphere since I got here.